First contact protocols. Chief Observer Nexel's sensor arrays flickered in distress as she analyzed the data streaming in from Sol 3. The Galactic survey vessel, Silent Observer, had maintained its position at the edge of the Kuiper Belt for the past 30 years, monitoring what should have been a moderately developing civilization. Instead, the readings before her threatened to upend centuries of established sociological theory. "Captain Zerix," she called out, her crystalline voice resonating through the ship's observation deck. "The humans have done it again." The massive form of Captain Zerix emerged from the ship's neural interface chamber, his gelatinous body shifting colors in response to his curiosity. "What impossible thing have they achieved this time, Observer?" "They've discovered quantum tunneling principles," Nexel reported, her arrays cycling through shades of deep purple. "Not just theoretically. They're already building practical applications." "That's..." Zyrix's form rippled in disbelief. "That's not possible. Their civilization only achieved nuclear fission 80 solar cycles ago. The developmental gap between fission and practical quantum tunneling should be at least 300 cycles." Nexel projected a holographic timeline of human technological development. "That's not even the most concerning part, Captain. They discovered it by accident while trying to improve their coffee machines." The captain's translucent body clouded over as he processed this information. Every species in the Galactic Alliance had followed predictable developmental patterns. Scientific advancement came through careful, methodical research, each discovery building logically on the last. But humans seemed to stumble into revolutionary discoveries while pursuing entirely unrelated goals. "Show me their current technological distribution," Zerix ordered. The holographic display shifted, showing Earth's various nations and their technological capabilities. It was a chaos of overlapping development paths that should have torn their civilization apart. Some regions were developing artificial intelligence while others were still burning fossil fuels. They had quantum computers operating alongside primitive digital systems. Their space program used both cutting-edge ion drives and chemical rockets that seemed barely more advanced than fireworks. "Their development pattern defies all known models," Nexel continued. "They're advancing along multiple technological paths simultaneously, with different groups pursuing different approaches to the same problems. By all standard metrics, this should be causing devastating societal collapse. Instead, they're actually accelerating their rate of discovery." "What about their conflict patterns?" Zerix asked, already dreading the answer. "That's perhaps the most baffling aspect," Nexel responded, bringing up another data set. "They continue to engage in territorial disputes and resource competitions, yet somehow these conflicts seem to drive innovation rather than impede it. During their last major global conflict, they went from primitive aircraft to jet engines in less than 6 solar cycles." The observation deck fell silent as both aliens contemplated the implications. The Galactic Alliance had strict protocols for first contact, carefully designed over millions of years to ensure stable integration of new species into the galactic community. But those protocols assumed logical, predictable development patterns. "There's something else you should see," Nexel said quietly, bringing up a new display. "We've been monitoring their entertainment and media broadcasts. Look at how they envision first contact." The display showed clips from various human movies and stories. In some, humans fought against technologically superior invaders and won through sheer determination and creativity. In others, they formed alliances with alien species and somehow ended up teaching their more advanced allies new ways of thinking. "They're not afraid of meeting a more advanced civilization," Zerix realized, his color shifting to a troubled gray. "They're excited by the prospect. They see it as an opportunity to learn, to grow, to improve." "Exactly," Nexel confirmed. "And based on their current rate of advancement, they'll achieve independent interstellar travel within the next 50 cycles. When that happens, they'll find us," Zerix completed the thought. "And they won't wait for an invitation to join the galactic community. They'll simply start exploring, experimenting, innovating, changing everything they touch." Nexel added. Captain, I believe we need to seriously consider initiating first contact protocols now, while we still have some control over the process. Xerx's form swirled with conflicting colors as he considered the implications. The humans weren't ready for first contact by any traditional measure. They hadn't achieved planetary unity, hadn't solved their resource distribution problems, hadn't even reached a consensus on basic scientific principles. But perhaps that was exactly why they needed to be contacted now. Prepare a priority message to the Galactic Council, he ordered finally. Tell them we've discovered a species that doesn't follow the rules of civilization development. Tell them we found a species that thrives on chaos and turns accidents into breakthroughs. Tell them. He paused, his color settling into a determined blue. Tell them we found a species that might change everything we think we know about the universe. As the message was encoded and transmitted through quantum channels to the distant council, Nexel and Xerx continued to watch the strange species on the third planet. Somewhere down there, a human had just spilled coffee on their quantum research notes, and that accident would probably lead to the discovery of faster-than-light travel. The galaxy would never be the same. The human factor. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before the Galactic Council's Science Division, trying not to smile at the array of alien faces showing various species-specific expressions of disbelief. She had just finished presenting the results of humanity's first collaborative research project with alien scientists, and the response was exactly what she had expected. "Let me understand this correctly," said Chief Researcher Clocks, his crystalline form clouded with confusion. "Your team failed to achieve the intended goal of improving quantum communication efficiency, but in failing, you discovered an entirely new form of quantum entanglement." "That's correct," Elena replied, unable to keep the excitement from her voice. "We call it cascade entanglement. It wasn't what we were looking for, but it might actually be more useful than our original goal." The assembled alien scientists exchanged troubled looks. In their experience, failure was failure. You documented it, analyzed why it happened, and tried again with adjustments. You didn't celebrate it and turn it into a new field of study. Ambassador Xerx, who had been promoted following his first contact recommendation, felt his gelatinous form ripple with something between amusement and concern. He had seen this pattern before during his observation years. Humans didn't just accept failure. They embraced it, learned from it, and somehow turned it into unexpected success. Dr. Rodriguez, a Meridian scientist, called out, her tentacles waving in agitation. "Your team violated 3 fundamental safety protocols during these experiments. You exceeded recommended power levels, combined theoretically incompatible quantum states, and modified equipment without proper authorization. By all standard research procedures, your project should have been terminated." Elena nodded, pulling up a holographic display of their results. "Those violations were actually key to our discovery. See, when we pushed past the safety limits, we noticed these unusual quantum fluctuations. The equipment modifications let us study them in detail, and the incompatible quantum states turned out to be compatible in ways we never imagined." The council chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien languages as the scientists debated among themselves. To them, safety protocols and research procedures were fundamental pillars of scientific advancement. The idea of deliberately violating them in pursuit of discovery was almost heretical. Ambassador Xerx moved closer to the human scientist. "Dr. Rodriguez, I believe you may be unaware of how disturbing your methods appear to my colleagues. In galactic society, scientific advancement follows established patterns. Safety protocols exist for valid reasons." Elena's eyes sparkled with that uniquely human mixture of curiosity and defiance. "With all due respect, Ambassador, if humans had always followed established patterns, we'd still be living in caves. Every major breakthrough in our history came from someone asking, 'What if?' and trying something that shouldn't have worked." From his observation post, Chief Observer Nexel watched the proceedings with growing fascination. He had been tracking human scientific development for decades, But seeing it up close was something else entirely. Humans didn't just think outside the box. They questioned why the box existed in the first place, then built something entirely different from its pieces. Perhaps, Elena continued, addressing the still agitated council, we should focus on the implications of cascade entanglement. Our preliminary tests suggest it could revolutionize interstellar communication. We might be able to achieve real-time communication across any distance without quantum decay. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just joined galactic civilization. They had awakened something that had been sleeping for millennia. The desire to explore, to question, to push beyond the comfortable and known. I propose, High Elder Varn announced, that we formally recognize this moment as the beginning of a new era in galactic history. Not because of what humans have taught us about science or technology, but because of what they've reminded us about ourselves. The vote was unanimous. As the session concluded, Commander Sarah Chen, who had led the defense during the crisis, made a final entry in her report to Earth's government. The galaxy feared we weren't ready for them. They feared we would change too much, too fast. What they finally understood is that change isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. Humanity hasn't conquered the galaxy. We've done something far more important. We've inspired it to dream again. In the observation deck of the Galactic Council station, Chief Observer Nexel watched Earth rotate slowly in the distance. His final report would read simply, the humans have not adapted to join galactic civilization. Instead, galactic civilization has adapted to become more human. And we are all the better for it. The galaxy had received its wake-up call. The age of careful, methodical progress was over. The age of what if and why not had begun. And somewhere on Earth, a young scientist was looking up at the stars, asking a question that would change everything all over again. Has it? Marcus asked quietly, pointing to a different set of readings. Look at the pattern in the chaos. The room fell silent as they studied the data. The quantum states weren't maintaining perfect coherence, but they weren't completely decohering either. Instead, they were shifting between states in a pattern that looked almost intentional. It's learning, Elena Rodriguez announced from the doorway, where she had been watching the experiment. The neural network is using the quantum fluctuations as a new form of information processing. It's not just computing. It's quantum thinking. That's not possible, Clark stated, but his tone lacked conviction. He had learned that with humans, impossible things had a habit of happening anyway. The next few hours were a blur of activity as the combined research team studied the emerging phenomenon. The hybrid system was processing information in ways that defied both classical and quantum computing principles. It wasn't just faster, it was fundamentally different. Look at this, Marcus called out, highlighting a particular data stream. It's solving problems we haven't even asked it to solve yet. It's anticipating questions. Precognitive computing. Vex whispered, her tentacles uncurling in wonder. What that would mean. It's using quantum uncertainty itself as a computational resource, Elena finished. The very thing we thought would make it fail is what makes it work. The chaos isn't a bug. It's a feature. Ambassador Zurich observed as the alien scientists gradually moved from horror to fascination to excitement. He had seen this pattern before. Humans would propose something that violated all known principles, do it anyway, and somehow end up advancing science by centuries. We need to shut this down immediately, a voice announced from the facility's quantum communication array. The Galactic Science Council's Emergency Oversight Committee had been monitoring the experiment. This level of unrestricted quantum neural interaction could have catastrophic consequences. With respect, Marcus replied, not taking his eyes off the readings, I don't think we can shut it down. It's already evolved beyond our control protocols. But more importantly, I don't think we should. Explain, the Council demanded. This system isn't just computing. It's thinking in quantum possibilities. It's showing us that consciousness itself might be a quantum phenomenon. We're not just building a better computer. We're understanding how thought works at the most fundamental level. Elena stepped forward. The Council needs to understand something about humans. We don't advance by playing it safe. We advance by taking risks, by breaking rules, by doing things that shouldn't work until we figure out why they do. Yes, this experiment is dangerous. Yes, it's unprecedented. But so was fire to our ancestors, and they mastered it. So was electricity, and we mastered that too. The quantum communication array fell silent as the Council deliberated. Finally, a new voice spoke, older, wiser, carrying the weight of millennia of galactic knowledge. Continue the experiment, the High Council elder declared, but not because of its potential benefits. Continue because you humans have shown us something we have forgotten, that the greatest discoveries come not from following the known path, but from blazing new ones through the unknown. As the hybrid system continued to evolve, processing reality in ways that neither humans nor aliens fully understood, Marcus made a note in his research log. Day 180 of the Quantum Consciousness Project. Today we reminded the galaxy that the most important scientific instrument isn't a computer or a quantum crystal or even a neural network. It's curiosity. The willingness to look into the chaos and ask, what if? The future of galactic science would never be the same. The adaptive edge. The emergency alert echoed through the Joint Species Research Facility on Mars, its urgent tone cutting through the usual hum of scientific equipment. A solar storm of unprecedented magnitude was approaching the red planet, its intensity far exceeding the facility's standard radiation shielding capabilities. Commander Sarah Chen watched as her alien colleagues followed their carefully designed evacuation protocols, preparing to retreat to the facility's deepest bunkers. But something wasn't right about this storm. These readings don't make sense, she muttered, studying the data streams. The particle acceleration patterns are too uniform. This isn't natural. Ambassador Xyrix, who had remained on Mars to continue studying human innovation methods, moved his gelatinous form closer to her display. What are you suggesting, Commander? This is artificial, Sarah declared, her fingers flying over the holographic interface. Someone's using a stellar manipulation device to create this storm. But why? And more importantly, how do we stop it? The facility's quantum communication array crackled to life, carrying a message that confirmed her worst fears. Similar storms were appearing near every major joint research facility across the solar system. Someone, or something, was systematically targeting human-alien cooperation. All facilities begin emergency evacuation, the Galactic Council's message ordered. Standard crisis protocols are in effect. Preserve essential personnel and research data. Abandon all non-critical projects. Sarah looked around at the facility's main laboratory, where the quantum neural hybrid system they'd created still hummed with activity. 3 months of evolution had turned it into something neither humans nor aliens fully understood. But its potential was undeniable. They couldn't just abandon it. What if we don't evacuate? She asked, causing every alien in the room to stop their preparations and stare at her. What if we find a way to protect the facility instead? That's not possible, Dr. Vex insisted, her tentacles writhing with anxiety. The radiation levels will exceed our shielding capacity by 300%. No known technology can compensate for that difference. No known technology, Sarah agreed, a familiar glint in her eye. But what about unknown technology? What about our quantum neural hybrid? Understanding dawned in Ambassador Xyrix's swirling form. He had seen this before. Humans facing impossible odds and refusing to accept them is truly impossible. You want to repurpose the hybrid system for radiation shielding. That's never been attempted. Exactly, Sarah grinned. It's never been attempted, which means no one knows for sure that it won't work. And look at these storm patterns. They're too perfect, too artificial. That means they're predictable. If we can predict them, we can counter them. Marcus Chang finished, already moving to the hybrid system's controls. The quantum aspects could anticipate the particle waves, and the neural network could adapt our shield modulation in real time. The alien scientists watched in a mixture of horror and fascination as the humans began rapidly reprogramming their most advanced research project into an improvised defense system. By any rational analysis, it should have been impossible. The power requirements alone should have made it unfeasible. But Sarah had noticed something during their earlier experiments. The hybrid system didn't just process quantum information, it actually influenced quantum probability itself. If they could extend that influence to the incoming radiation particles. "Everyone who's staying, we need ideas," she announced. "Doesn't matter how crazy they sound. The crazier the better. We've got 30 minutes to rewrite the laws of physics." What followed was perhaps the most chaotic research session in galactic history. Humans and aliens worked side by side, throwing out ideas that violated every known scientific principle. They weren't just thinking outside the box. They were pretending the box had never existed. 25 minutes later, alarms blared as the first wave of the artificial storm hit Mars' atmosphere. The facility's conventional shields began to fail almost immediately. "Now or never," Sarah called out, initiating their jury-rigged defense system. The hybrid quantum neural network sprang to life, its processing patterns more erratic than ever. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the impossible occurred. The incoming radiation particles began to redirect. Not all of them, but enough. The hybrid system was actually predicting their paths and subtly altering quantum probability to force them away from the facility. "It's working," Marcus breathed, watching the readings. "It's actually working. The system isn't just shielding us. It's learning from each wave, getting more efficient at deflection." Ambassador Zyrix's form swirled with colors that had no translation in human languages. "You've weaponized quantum probability itself," he said quietly. "You took a research project that was never meant for defense and turned it into a shield by sheer force of will and creativity." "That's what humans do," Sarah replied, still monitoring the system's performance. "We adapt. We take what we have and make it into what we need. And right now, we need to send these readings to every other facility in the system. They can replicate our solution. But the quantum communication network is down," Dr. Vex pointed out. Sarah smiled. "Then we'll find another way. We always do." As the artificial storm raged outside, humanity had once again demonstrated why they were simultaneously the most terrifying and most fascinating species in the galaxy. They didn't just survive crises, they emerged from them stronger, armed with new technologies and techniques that shouldn't have been possible. The mysterious attackers had meant to drive humans and aliens apart. Instead, they had forced them to innovate together, creating defensive technology that would revolutionize space travel. It was perhaps the most human outcome possible, turning an attack into an opportunity for advancement. Ambassador Zyrix made a note in his ongoing report to the Galactic Council. "The human capacity for adaptation continues to exceed all known parameters. When faced with impossible situations, they don't just survive, they'd rewrite the rules of what's possible. The galaxy must accept that with humans as allies, nothing is truly impossible anymore." Galaxy's wake-up call. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so crowded. Representatives from every spacefaring civilization had gathered for what many were calling the most important session in galactic history. The topic: humanity's impact on galactic civilization, 1 year after the crisis. High Elder Varn, their crystalline form glowing with ancient wisdom, addressed the assembled representatives. "We gather today to discuss the unprecedented changes sweeping through our civilization. In just 1 standard year, human influence has transformed our understanding of science, technology, and progress itself." Ambassador Zyrix, now promoted to senior cultural liaison, moved to the center of the chamber. His gelatinous form had taken on the deep blue of profound realization. "When we first discovered humans, we thought they weren't ready for galactic civilization. We were wrong. We weren't ready for them. Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing the developments of the past year. The quantum neural hybrid systems, first developed as a curious experiment and later adapted into a defense mechanism, had spawned an entirely new field of science. But that was just the beginning. Humans have not simply joined our civilization, Xerix continued. They have fundamentally changed how we approach problems, how we conduct research, and how we think about possibility itself. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stepped forward, representing Earth in this historic session. We never set out to change the galaxy, she said. We just couldn't help asking what if and why not. It's in our nature to question, to experiment, to push boundaries. The displays shifted to show various human-alien collaboration projects across the galaxy. Traditional research facilities have been transformed into innovation hubs where controlled chaos was not just tolerated but encouraged. Scientists from different species worked together, combining methodical alien approaches with human intuitive leaps. The attack during the crisis, Elena continued, was meant to drive us apart. Instead, it showed us what we could achieve together. Human adaptability combined with alien expertise. Human chaos balanced by alien order. Chief Researcher Clocks, who had once been skeptical of human methods, raised his crystalline form. We have identified the source of the artificial solar storms. They were created by a machine civilization from beyond the galaxy's edge. They saw our cooperation as a threat. They were right. The chamber buzzed with discussion. The machine civilization had calculated that human unpredictability combined with alien technology would make the Galactic Alliance too powerful. Their attack had been meant to prevent this. Instead, it had accelerated exactly what they feared. But this raises a crucial question. High Elder Varn said, how do we proceed? Humanity's influence continues to grow. Their methods challenge our most fundamental principles. Some say we are losing our way, becoming too human. Dr. Marcus Chung, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. With respect, Elder, maybe that's not the right way to look at it. We're not making you more human. We're helping you remember something you'd forgotten. The joy of discovery, the thrill of the unknown. He gestured to the displays showing their joint achievements. Look at what we've accomplished together. Humans aren't just breaking rules. We're showing why those rules existed and when they need to change. We're not destroying order. We're helping it evolve. Ambassador Xerix moved his form in agreement. The humans have taught us that progress isn't just about building on what we know. Sometimes it's about questioning our foundations, about being willing to fail spectacularly in pursuit of something new. A year ago, Elena added, we turned a quantum computing experiment into a defense system because we had to. We didn't know it would work. We tried anyway. That's humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not our technology or our methods, but our willingness to try the impossible. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. If she was right, this accidental discovery could transform galactic civilization. Faster than light travel might still be impossible, but instant communication across light years would change everything. There's more, Elena added, bringing up new data. We think the principles behind cascade entanglement might have applications in energy generation, computation, and possibly even matter transmission. We've already started exploring these possibilities. Without authorization. Several council members asked simultaneously. Well, yes, Elena admitted. We saw the potential and didn't want to waste time waiting for approval. We've already achieved some promising results in our preliminary tests. Ambassador Xerix noticed something remarkable. Despite their obvious concern about human research methods, the alien scientists were leaning forward, their attention fully captured. Human recklessness might frighten them, but human results were undeniable. I move that we establish a joint research initiative, Xerix announced suddenly, not just for cascade entanglement, but for studying human scientific methodology itself. We need to understand how they achieve these breakthroughs. Study our methodology, Elena asked, surprised. It's nothing special. We just try things. When they don't work, We try to understand why, and sometimes that leads us somewhere unexpected. Failure is just another word for discovering what doesn't work, and understanding why something doesn't work often teaches us more than success. The council chamber buzzed with discussion again, but this time there was an undercurrent of excitement mixing with the concern. They had spent centuries perfecting their scientific methods, refining them into precise, predictable processes. Now humans were achieving in years what took other species decades, simply by embracing chaos and failure. As the session concluded, Nexel updated his ongoing report to the Galactic Council. Human factor continues to defy conventional analysis, he wrote. Their apparent recklessness masks a deeper pattern. They learn more from failure than others learn from success. Traditional metrics for technological advancement may need comprehensive revision. Recommend immediate implementation of Ambassador Zurich's proposed study initiative. The galaxy needs to understand humans before humans reshape the galaxy. Elena left the council chamber, already planning her next series of unauthorized experiments. Behind her, she could hear the alien scientists beginning to ask what-if questions of their own. Perhaps that, she thought, was the greatest discovery of all, teaching the galaxy to embrace the power of productive failure. Quantum leap. The Joint Species Research Facility on Mars buzzed with an energy that made most alien scientists deeply uncomfortable. 6 months into the galaxy's first multi-species innovation initiative, and the humans had already appended centuries of established research protocols. Today was no exception. You want to do what? Chief Researcher Clocks asked, his crystalline form flickering with disbelief as he stared at Dr. Marcus Chang's proposal. Marcus gestured excitedly at the holographic display. We want to combine your species' quantum crystalline computing with our neural network architectures. Think about it. Your quantum crystals can maintain coherence at room temperature, something we haven't achieved yet. But our AI systems can adapt and learn in ways yours can't. If we merge them, impossible, interrupted Dr. Vex, her tentacles wrapping tightly around herself in distress. The crystalline matrices are precisely calibrated. Adding chaotic neural elements would destroy the quantum coherence. Every simulation we've run confirms this. Ah, but that's just it, Marcus grinned, pulling up a new set of equations. We're not going to try to maintain perfect coherence. We're going to let it get a little messy. Ambassador Zyrix, who had taken to attending these sessions out of fascination, felt his gelatinous form ripple with amusement. He had learned to recognize this particular human expression, the one that preceded what they called a crazy-enough-to-work idea. The simulations show failure, Vex insisted. The simulations show what happens if we try to force the systems to work the way we expect, Marcus corrected. But what if we let them find their own way to work together? What if the chaos is actually the key? Before anyone could object, Marcus had already started the initialization sequence. The alien scientists watched in horror as he deliberately introduced quantum noise into their perfectly ordered crystalline matrix. The monitoring systems erupted with warnings as coherence levels fluctuated wildly. See, Vex gestured at the readings. Complete quantum decoherence. The experiment has failed.